In July 2021, following years of ongoing prosecutions, an Italian court sentenced 14 men for their role in a program known as Operation Condor, an expansive, US-backed campaign of surveillance, detention, torture, and assassination carried out by right-wing Latin American regimes in the 1970s. This is how it happened. Operation Condor was born in the 1970s. The Cuban Revolution coincided with a number of independence and anti-colonial movements across the global south. In Latin America, this energy was met with a series of right-wing military coups across the continent for over a decade. In 1964 in Brazil, in 1971 in Bolivia, in Chile and Uruguay in 1973, and in Argentina in 1976. The new regimes were ruthless, subjecting their opposition to measures like targeted arrests, imprisonment, torture, kidnappings, rape, and murder. Trade unions, students, artists, and anyone suspected of being left-leaning or with Marxist sympathies were targeted. Because the coups forced many to flee, regimes were interested in tightening the security net between their countries to track dissidents. In 1975, Colonel Manuel Contreras, chief of the Chilean secret police, organized the first inter-American meeting on national intelligence. This was a covert meeting where security delegates from Chile, Bolivia, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay signed up for a new intelligence sharing arrangement designed to track subversives and persons of interest. Brazil joined in 1976, followed by Ecuador and Peru 2 years later. In addition to sharing information, the accords also allowed for agents of one country to operate easily in another. This meant that people could be tracked and captured easily even after fleeing their country, and could be subjected to torture and violence without any sense of protection or asylum. While Operation Condor was not a US program, declassified documents show it undeniably had the backing of the US. The US was equally paranoid about Latin America becoming a base for left-wing uprisings, and the brutality of Operation Condor was a convenient and effective method of containment. The Condor program existed during both the Nixon-Ford and Carter administrations. The Nixon-Ford administration directly financed and armed many of the dictatorships involved. The US also directly trained many officials who went on to create the Condor system at the US Army School of the Americas training camp in Panama, where they were taught counterinsurgency tactics. The US also provided communication support, which was crucial to the operation of the Condor program. There is no question that the US had full knowledge of the scope and brutality of what was taking place. Operation Condor began to collapse in the late 70s after the assassination of Orlando Letelier, a Chilean diplomat close to Salvador Allende. US President Jimmy Carter pressured the Chilean regime to curb its repressive tactics, while Chile and Argentina began fighting over control of the Beagle Channel in 1977. The conflict, which nearly led to war, also began to create fractures between other dictatorships. But the end of the Condor program did not spell an end to political repression and violence in the region. The different regimes' agents and police continued to cooperate to kidnap, murder, and torture people for years to come. The Condor program resulted in an estimated 50,000 killed, 30,000 disappeared, and up to 400,000 arrested and imprisoned. Few of those responsible for ordering and carrying out Condor's campaign of terror and brutality have been brought to justice. Many continued to hold high-ranking government and military positions even after regimes ended, while others went into exile abroad to avoid prosecution. Many victims and their remains are still missing. There has also been no real reckoning for those who were involved in backing and financing regimes from abroad. Over the years, some prosecutions have taken place, but they have been few and far between. Perhaps the highest profile arrest was that of former Chilean dictator Augusto Pinochet, who was arrested in London and brought back to Chile. But years of legal wrangling meant that he died, still having escaped conviction for any of his crimes. The historic life sentences handed down by an Italian court in 2021 will bring some comfort, but for many, justice for their disappeared friends and loved ones may never come.